Soon, Europe may be flooded with another wave of illegal migration. The left-wing Spanish government, led by Pedro Sanchez, has pushed through a so-called royal decree, giving hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants the opportunity to legalize their stay on the Iberian Peninsula. Pedro Sanchez is a danger to the whole of Europe. Migrants who have been legalized in Europe will be able to move freely throughout the European Union. 500,000 of these illegal migrants will be able to bring their families over in the future. What's more, Spain wants to put the entire European Union at risk, because how can you control people who will be able to legalize their status in Spain and travel throughout the European Union, throughout the Schengen area? MEP Jacek Ozdoba has prepared a letter calling on the European Commission to respond. There is no consent to expose the European Union to such a far-reaching danger. We are interfering in Spain's affairs because Spain wants to expose us all. Among other things, the parliamentarian called for detailed explanations and an investigation into whether the actions are in line with European Union law and whether they threaten the functioning of the Schengen area. Europe has been experiencing a migration crisis for many years, but how is it possible that there are still countries that continue to pursue this foolish policy? The letter was signed not only by conservative MEPs. Some MEPs from liberal groups in the European Parliament are also opposed to legalizing the stay in Europe of hundreds of thousands or even millions of newcomers from unknown origins. Sanchez wants to use this action to hide his corruption and his defeat at the polls, to manipulate voters' votes in order to stay in power. Therefore, Commissioner, I ask you to activate the mechanism and call for an explanation. The Spanish government's decision to legalize hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants and the European Commission's lack of response is yet another example of the extreme hypocrisy of EU migration policy. A debate on this issue was held in Strasbourg. On the one hand, the Commission imposes the principle of compulsory solidarity and relocation of migrants. On the other hand, when a left-wing government allows 500,000 illegal migrants into Europe, the Commission claims that migration issues are an internal matter for member states. Really? This is hypocrisy of the highest order. The Sanchez government has violated its obligation to protect the external borders, thereby violating the Schengen rules, and the Commission is not responding. This is a serious matter, because if the European Commission does not react, the law introduced by the Sanchez government could lead to another uncontrolled wave of migration. Prime Minister Sanchez claims that the main reason for this decision is its moral righteousness. Prime Minister Sanchez, your government is known around the world for corruption and supporting the communist regime in Cuba. In the name of public morality, please address these issues instead of exacerbating the migration crisis in Europe. If the family reunification regulation is applied to them, this amount should be multiplied many times over. This is the chaos and destruction of security that the Spanish and left-wing government is leading to. I believe that neighboring countries, which are also in the Schengen area, should immediately introduce border controls to prevent these migrants from flooding into the entire European Union. Even MEPs from the center-left groups in the European Parliament have expressed similar views.
Giving amnesty to 500,000 irregular migrants is a direct challenge to the Schengen area. It undermines our common efforts to strengthen our borders and tackle illegal migration. And it's also very clear that we see now Prime Minister Sanchez. He seems to live in an alternative reality where political survival comes first.
However, the discussion also featured the familiar mechanisms of emotional blackmail, where accusations of hatred replace substantive discussion.
Aquí hay dos modelos.
We can observe two models of behavior. Yours, the one in which walls are built, is a model of fools and fear. Ours is a model of rights, integration, and the future. You focus on hatred. We focus on strength and coexistence. Under the guise of humanitarianism, the left-wing elites are carrying out an operation that strikes at the foundations of Spain and Christian Europe, because mass migration from the Middle East and Africa to Europe is not just a matter of economic collapse. I am talking about fraudulent marriages, polygamy, entire families living on welfare due to abuse of family reunification, slums where no one works, and those from which our compatriots are being expelled because they no longer recognize themselves. The arrivals terminal at Barajas Airport is an uncontrolled black hole. Mafias are stepping up their activities in southern Spain. Among the controversies caused by the new regulations of the left-wing Sanchez government is the decision to allow illegal immigrants to legalize their stay without even having an identity card. Not even a criminal background check is required, because the Spanish government does not care if these people come to steal, rape, or rob. Their only goal is to win votes in local elections and then grant them citizenship, because Spaniards no longer vote for them. This decision by the Spanish left is on the one hand quite dangerous, but on the other hand also very interesting, because it is an attempt, obviously a political idea, to import voters, a potential electorate. They say that a drowning man will clutch at a straw. In this case, the proverbial straw may prove dangerous not only for Spain, but for the whole of Europe.